The bottle hit the floor at 5:32 p.m. Sunday evening. Orange plastic, white cap, rattling across hardwood. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee cooling in Dorothy's Cardinal mug, watching Vanessa set down my pill organizer. Her smile was the same one she used for Brandon's business partners. Wide, warm, empty. "Here you go, sweetheart," she said. "Your vitamins. Brandon worries so much about you keeping up with these." Her designer handbag, the oversized Coach tote she'd carried in, along with a separate pharmacy bag, tipped over. 3 prescription bottles spilled across the hardwood, rattling like dice. One rolled straight to my feet. I picked it up. The label faced me. Vanessa Mitchell, Lorazepam 2 mg. Take 1 tablet by mouth twice daily as needed for anxiety. 32 years as a paramedic taught me to read medication labels in seconds. Lorazepam, benzodiazepine class, sedative, hypnotic, central nervous system depressant. DE, a schedule. IV side effects include confusion, impaired coordination, memory problems. The fog in my head, the tremors, the confusion episodes Brandon had seemed so concerned about, clicked into focus. I met her eyes. Vanessa had frozen mid-reach for the other bottles. The color left her face. "Quote, that's mine," she said. Her voice climbed half an octave. "For my anxiety, I must have grabbed the wrong bag this morning." I turned the bottle in my hand. The prescription date was 6 days old. "You've been helping me organize my pills every Sunday for the past 3 months," I said. "You know how forgetful you've been, sweetheart. I'm just trying to help." I reached for my phone. What are you doing?" "Calling Patricia Chen." "Your attorney? Why would you?" "Because I want to know what lorazepam does to a 67-year-old man when he takes it every day without knowing." Vanessa's hands started shaking. She pressed them together. "Or dis is a misunderstanding." 3 words, like she'd rehearsed them. I pulled up Patricia's number. No tremor, no fog, just the phone screen and Vanessa's white face. "I make videos. You hit subscribe. Perfect match." The call to Patricia Chen could wait until morning. First, I needed to think. I woke at 6. Dorothy's side of the bed stayed made, pillows arranged the way she'd liked them. Hospital corners, nurse precision. The bird feeders needed filling. I pulled on jeans and a flannel shirt, same routine as yesterday, same as the day before. 243 days of the same routine. The coffee percolator sat on the counter, same one Dorothy bought decades ago, still working. I measured grounds the way she taught me, 3 scoops for a full pot, water to the 10-cup line. The backyard feeders hung from shepherd's hooks Dorothy installed in 2004. I filled each one with the seed mix she'd researched: black oil sunflower for cardinals, Niger for finches, suet cakes for woodpeckers. A yellow-rumped warbler landed on the platform feeder while I worked, first of the season. I went inside for my journal. I logged the warbler in my notebook. Male. The yellow patches caught morning light as it fed. 7:02 a.m., clear skies. 48 degrees. My handwriting looked the same as it did in 1987 when I started keeping paramedic shift logs. 32 years of documentation, every call recorded, every patient's symptom noted, times and treatments and outcomes. The malpractice case in 2004 came down to my logs. My shift notes proved exact medication, exact time, exact dosage. 16 pages. Case dismissed. Dorothy used to read my logs at the kitchen table, medical terminology we both spoke fluently. She was an ER nurse. I was a paramedic. We met in 1977 when I brought in a cardiac arrest she saved with defibrillation and 3 rounds of epinephrine. I asked her to dinner 2 weeks later. Never looked at another woman in 42 years. The house was exactly how she left it. Vintage teacups displayed in the glass cabinet, organized by pattern. her reading glasses on the side table next to her chair. The cardigan she wore the morning I drove her to the hospital for the last time, draped over the dining room chair. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. 6 months from diagnosis to death. Timeline precise as any shift log I'd ever written. I administered her morphine with paramedic hands that didn't shake, titrating doses based on her pain scale ratings, 1 through 10. She stayed sharp until the final week. Patricia Chen came to the hospital in January, 3 weeks before Dorothy died in February. Dorothy had the estate documents spread across her blanket, yellow legal pad covered with notes in her precise handwriting. "Eugene," she said, squeezing my hand. Her grip was weak but deliberate. "Patricia needs to explain the competency clause." Patricia adjusted her reading glasses. $3.8 million in trust. Real estate, life insurance, investments. If Eugene maintains competency for 1 year after your death, Dorothy, full control. If he's declared incompetent within that year, Brandon inherits with Vanessa as co-trustee. "What does co-trustee mean?" I asked. "She has equal spending authority," Patricia said. "Any decision about the estate requires both signatures, but either one can initiate transactions." Dorothy's fingers tightened on mine. "I wanted to protect the money if something happened to you. If you got sick. If you needed care. I never thought." "You did the right thing," I told her. But she looked at Patricia with nurse eyes that assessed and calculated. "The 1-year window could be a problem. Only if someone tries to exploit it," Patricia said. 3 months after the funeral, Patricia read the will in her office. Brandon sat next to Vanessa, who wore a black dress and pearls, appropriate widow-in-law costuming. She touched my arm when Patricia explained the competency clause. "Don't worry, Eugene," she said. "We're not going anywhere. You'll be fine." Dorothy and I had welcomed her into the family 5 years earlier. The wedding was at a hotel ballroom, 200 guests, elegant reception. We contributed $12,000 toward the cost, handed Brandon the check with genuine happiness. Vanessa had thanked us with that wide smile, the one I thought was real. "You're so generous," she'd said. "Brandon's lucky to have a father like you." During one hospital visit, Vanessa had touched my arm. "I understand pain management," she'd said. "Pharmaceutical sales for 6 years. If you have questions about Dorothy's medications, I can help explain them." I'd thought it was kind. Brandon called every Sunday evening, apologizing for not visiting more. "Work's crazy, Dad. We had 3 executives out with COVID, and I'm covering 2 departments." "You don't need to apologize. I should have been there more when Mom was sick." "I should. You were working," I said. "Your mother understood that." He worked 60-hour weeks as a hospital administrator. The guilt in his voice was real, constant, exhausting for both of us. I didn't ask him to visit more. We'd sit at the table, Dorothy's empty chair between us, and find nothing to say. I maintained the routines she'd established. Grocery shopping Tuesday afternoons. Bird feeders filled at dawn and dusk. Her place at the dining table still set with her placemat, her napkin ring, her water glass. Helen showed up the first Tuesday of the month, same as she had since Dorothy died. Former ER colleague who knew better than to make me sit in a waiting room. We'd worked together in the 90s when she was still doing rotations. "How's the sleep?" she asked during her October visit. 4, maybe 5 hours. "Appetite?" "I eat." She picked up one of my bird journals from the counter, flipping through pages of species logs and behavioral notes. Her eyes tracked my handwriting, noting the consistent letter formation, the steady hand control. "Yellow-throated warbler on October 3rd, she read. "Unusual sighting for this area. First recorded visit in 15 years of observation." "Probably migrating late," I said. Helen set down the journal. "Your documentation is as precise as ever." Habit, the kind that kept you employed for 32 years. She touched my shoulder. You're managing, Eugene. Grief isn't linear, but you're functional. Keep the routines, they're helping. I walked her to the door, wedding ring catching afternoon light through the front window. That evening I filled the feeders again. Chickadees and house sparrows, juncos and a late cardinal. Different birds, different light, same precision in my notes. I logged each species with timestamps and weather conditions, the same format I'd used for 3 decades of paramedic shifts. Inside, I sat at Dorothy's place at the table. Her teacup, the one with cardinals painted on white porcelain filled with coffee I wouldn't drink. Photo albums spread across her placemat showed 42 years in chronological order. Wedding photos from 1977, me in a rented tux, collar too tight, forced smile. Dorothy in her mother's dress, eyes direct at the camera, no hesitation. Brandon as a baby, as a child, as a teenager who grew up too fast. Family vacations to Wisconsin, Dorothy fishing, while I identified birds. Our 40th anniversary dinner, just the two of us at the restaurant where I'd proposed. She'd built the estate while I worked nights. Real estate investments researched during the day, purchased with discipline and patience. She'd tracked markets the way I tracked cardiac rhythms, recognizing patterns, making calculated decisions. The $3.8 million represented 42 years of partnership, her financial skill complementing my steady income. I pulled my journal toward me, leather-bound, and wrote in the same format I'd used since 1987, day 243 post-loss, maintaining household routines, cognitive function stable, grief ongoing but managed. Morning observation, yellow-rumped warbler, first of season. Evening observation, cardinal pair, consistent daily visitors. Dorothy's teacup remains on table. Wedding ring remains on hand. Estate planning documents reviewed per attorney recommendation. Competency clause noted. 1-year window expires in 6 months. I closed the journal and looked at Dorothy's chair. The cardigan was still draped over the back, waiting for her to return and put it on. She wasn't coming back. The estate clause she'd designed to protect me could become something else in the wrong hands. Patricia had explained that during her hospital visit, the warning in her legal language and Dorothy's tight grip on my fingers. But I'd trusted Vanessa's concern, her pharmaceutical knowledge, her bright smile at family dinners. Vanessa had asked about the will 3 times in the first month after the funeral. Always casual questions, always followed by offers to help organize my medications. The pattern was there. I just hadn't looked at it like evidence. I touched Dorothy's teacup with careful fingers. Cold coffee, porcelain smooth under my palm. I poured it down the sink and washed the Cardinal cup with dish soap, drying it carefully before returning it to the glass cabinet with the others. Dorothy had built something worth protecting. 4 months remained until the competency window closed. I intended to document every day. 5 months after Dorothy's funeral, Vanessa showed up at my house on the first Sunday in July at 3:30, 90 minutes before dinner. I was filling the evening feeders when her sous vide pulled into the driveway. She stepped out carrying her designer handbag and a separate pharmacy bag. The smile came before she cleared the door. Practice timing. "Eugene, I brought your medications," she called. "Thought I'd help you get them organized for the week." The pill organizer sat on the kitchen counter where I'd left it that morning. 7 days, morning and evening compartments, filled by my own hands for 42 years. She set the pharmacy bag down and opened it. 4 prescription bottles. My name on each label. "These are the ones Dr. Ortiz called in last week," Vanessa said. "The pharmacy had to order the generic, so they look a little different." I watched her open the first bottle. White and red capsules, same colors as my prescribed medication. But the size was wrong. 1/4 inch longer. Different weight when they dropped into the compartment. "You don't need to do this," I said. "I know you can manage it yourself." She touched my arm. 3 seconds. Exact pressure. But Brandon worries. You know how he is. And honestly, Eugene, it helps me feel like I'm doing something useful. After everything you and Dorothy did for us. "Generic," she said. I nodded. I'd seen enough medication switches in 32 years to know generics varied. Nothing unusual. She finished filling the organizer and closed each compartment with a soft click. There, all set for the week. Brandon arrived at 5 with his siblings. Jennifer brought a casserole using one of Dorothy's recipes. Michael's wife carried a pie. The dining room filled with voices and the sound of plates being set on Dorothy's mahogany table. I took my evening medications at 6:30 with a glass of water. The capsules were larger going down. Dinner started at 7. Hot roast, Dorothy's recipe, served on her good china. "How's work, Michael?" I asked. He launched into some project. Banking, restructuring. The words arrived fragmented. Banking, restructuring, reorganization, each one separate, refusing to connect. "Uncle Eugene, did you see the Cardinals game last night?" Tyler asked. I looked at him. Brandon's nephew. No, Brandon's son. My grandson. The name dissolved before I could grasp it. "Tyler's asking about baseball, Dad," Brandon said. "Right, Tyler." The fog cleared for a second, then closed in again. My hand shook. I reached for the water glass, changed my mind, pulled back. Vanessa touched my arm. 3 seconds. Exact pressure. The touch she'd use on a client at the yoga studio. "Eugene, honey, are you feeling okay?" 7 faces turned toward me. "Fine," I said. "Just tired." Jennifer asked about Tyler's baseball season. The table shifted toward safer topics. Someone mentioned summer vacation. Florida, maybe? Or California. The details wouldn't stick. Tuesday afternoon, Reverend Okonkwo knocked at 2, leather-bound Bible under his arm. We sat in the living room. Bird feeders visible through the window. Cardinals at the sunflower seeds. "How are you managing, Eugene?" he asked. "Dorothy's been gone 5 months now." 5 months, 3 weeks, I said. 173 days. He nodded. "You're tracking parish budgets better than the treasurer. Same precision as always. Grief counts every day. 173 since the funeral. 42 years of marriage before that. The numbers are automatic. We discussed parish finances for 20 minutes. The building fund needed attention. Roof repairs estimated at $12,000. I suggested reviewing the quarterly statements, checking for allocation errors. "Your documentation is as precise as ever," Reverend Okonkwo said. After he left, I stood at the window watching a yellow-rumped warbler work the suet feeder. Male. Yellow shoulder patches bright in afternoon light. First sustained visit this season. I logged it in my journal. 2:14 p.m. Clear skies. 68 degrees. The handwriting looked the same as Sunday's entry. Same as entries from 1987. The discrepancy sat in my mind. Clear mornings. Confused evenings. The pattern had edges I couldn't see yet. Sunday dinner, week 3. Vanessa arrived early again with medications and that practiced smile. "I noticed you forgot to mail the electric bill," she said. "The payment's overdue." I'd meant to mail it Tuesday. Walked to the mailbox with the envelope, then walked back inside. So, couldn't remember why. I could swing by Tuesdays, handle the mail. "Just until you're feeling more like yourself," Vanessa said. The logic was simple. I handed her the checkbook. 30 years of balancing accounts to the penny, and I handed it over because I couldn't remember a Tuesday mailbox trip. That evening I couldn't remember what year Brandon graduated college. Jennifer asked me directly. The information was somewhere in my head, but I couldn't pull it up. 2006, Brandon said quietly. Vanessa squeezed my shoulder. Later, I heard her on the phone in the kitchen, voice low. I'm worried about him. The confusion episodes are getting more frequent. I think he needs evaluation. Week 4, Dr. Ortiz's office at 10 a.m. Vanessa came with me, insisted on it. We sat in the waiting room until the nurse called my name. How have you been sleeping? Dr. Ortiz asked. Vanessa answered before I could. I found him in the kitchen at 2 a.m. last week. Couldn't remember why he'd gotten out of bed. The nighttime wandering is getting worse. I looked at Dr. Ortiz. 2 a.m., kitchen wandering. I logged every bird sighting at dawn for 15 years. I'd know if I'd been wandering at night. Is that accurate, Eugene? Dr. Ortiz asked. I don't recall. Vanessa pulled out her phone. I've been keeping notes. The confusion episodes are getting more frequent. Dr. Ortiz studied me. Mrs. Mitchell, would you mind waiting in the lobby? I'd like to examine my patient privately. Vanessa's smile tightened. Of course. When the door closed, Dr. Ortiz leaned forward. Are you experiencing nighttime wandering? No. Memory problems? Some. Sunday evenings mostly. Less during the week. She made a note. That's an unusual pattern. Stress from family gatherings, I said. That's what Vanessa thinks. Dr. Ortiz was quiet for a long moment. Eugene, right now you're tracking our conversation perfectly. Following complex topics. Your timeline recall is exact. I filled the feeders this morning at 6:42. Logged a scarlet tanager at 7:18. Made coffee at 7:30. I know what clear thinking feels like. Ordered blood work. Standard panels. Thyroid function. Vitamin levels. I'd like to see you again in 2 weeks, she said. Week 5, Brandon stopped by on a Wednesday evening. Can we talk, Dad? We sat at the dining table. Dorothy's chair between us. Dad, Vanessa says, you're having trouble. Forgetting bills. Getting confused at dinner. She's worried. I'm managing. Just think about it. He stood. The chair scraped hardwood. Same sound it made when Dorothy used to get up to refill coffee. Different person. Same empty sound. After he left, I pulled out my bird journal. Entries from the past 3 weeks. Handwriting steady. Observations detailed. A scarlet tanager on Monday. Rare for this area. Logged with precise time and weather conditions. Yellow rumped warbler at 7:18. Time exact. Species identification certain. Weather conditions logged. The handwriting didn't shake. Same hands that couldn't hold a fork 90 minutes ago. Sunday dinner, week 6. Trembling was worse. Week 1, barely noticeable. Week 4, visible when I reached for water. Now the fork clattered against the plate. I was telling them about the time Dorothy defibrillated a cardiac arrest in the grocery store parking lot, off duty, using an AED from the next part wouldn't come. Take your time, Dad, Brandon said. Michael's fork clinked against his plate. Jennifer shifted. Brandon looked at Vanessa. 10 seconds. I need to use the bathroom, I said. In the hallway, I leaned against the wall. My hands were shaking. When I came back, Vanessa had cleared my plate. You barely touched your dinner, Eugene, she said. Not feeling well? The family left at 8:30. I heard Vanessa talking to Jennifer by the door. I'm worried about him. The confusion episodes are getting more frequent. I think he needs evaluation. Week 7, Marshall Webb showed up at the house Tuesday afternoon. Vanessa's truck had followed his into the driveway. Marshall Webb, he said. Vanessa's brother. Thought I'd help with some yard work while I'm in town visiting. He raked leaves that didn't need raking. His phone stayed in his hand most of the time. You mind if I use your Wi-Fi? He asked. My data's running low. I gave him the password. He spent 40 minutes on the phone, thumb scrolling. His screen reflected in the window behind him. Car configurations, property listings, numbers with too many zeros. When he left, he'd barely touched the yard. That evening, I checked the router logs. Marshall's device had searched for Tesla Model S configurations, Miami luxury condos, cryptocurrency investments. That Sunday, I dropped my fork. My hand wouldn't cooperate. Brandon asked me the same question twice. I gave him 2 different answers. Vanessa's phone came out. Thumb typing. The screen faced away, but I saw the timestamp appear. 7:47 p.m. 3 minutes after I'd dropped the fork. By 9 p.m., the fog lifted. Same as every Sunday. Thick at 7, clear by 9. I sat at the table, Dorothy's teacup, wedding ring catching light. I pulled out my journal. Yellow-rumped warbler at 7:18. House sparrows at 8:42. Handwriting clear. Tuesday afternoon at 2, I discussed estate planning with Reverend Okonkwo. Explained the competency clause, the 1-year deadline, the trust structure. All of it detailed and precise. Sunday evening at 7, I couldn't remember Tyler's college major. Tuesday morning, I discussed his engineering program with Reverend Okonkwo. The pattern was there. I just couldn't see what it meant. I logged the observation anyway. Day 81 post-loss, cognitive function variable. Clear mornings and Tuesday afternoons. Confusion during Sunday family dinners. Timing too precise for random grief response. Pattern requires documentation. I closed the journal and checked the date. 6 months until the competency deadline. 24 more Sunday dinners. Dorothy tracked medication interactions for 30 years in the ER. She'd have pulled my pill bottles, cross-referenced every generic substitution, found the variable in 2 days. I logged the observation anyway. Day 81 post-loss. Cognitive function variable. Pattern requires documentation. Marshall knocked at 11:45. The sound pulled me from the recliner. News on mute. Flannel bathrobe loose over my t-shirt and boxers. I opened the door. Vanessa's brother stood under the porch light, phone in one hand. Eugene, hey. Vanessa sent me to check your smoke detector batteries. She said you mentioned one was beeping. I hadn't mentioned anything. But the fog was thick tonight, thicker than usual. Maybe I'd forgotten. Come in? He followed me to the kitchen. His phone stayed in his hand, screen glowing. Marshall filled a glass from the tap. Set it in front of me. Clear, liquid. Nothing wrong with it that I could see. Let me grab you some water while I'm here, he said. You should stay hydrated. I drank. The water tasted normal. Marshall climbed onto a chair to check the detector above the sink. Battery looks fine, he said. False alarm. We stood in the kitchen for a few minutes. He talked about the Bears game. I nodded when it seemed appropriate. The kitchen counter bent. I gripped the edge, but my fingers slid across laminate that felt like water. Marshall's voice. Tunnel end distant. Then his hand on my elbow, close enough I could smell his cologne. The space between made no sense. You okay, Eugene? Tired. Let me help you to the living room. His hand on my elbow guided me back to the recliner. The lamp beside it blurred into a halo of light. My hands gripped the armrests but couldn't feel the fabric. Benzodiazepine overdose. The thought arrived complete, clinical, like reading my own field report. Respiratory depression risk. Monitor airway, but I couldn't move. How about some fresh air? Marshall said, the night's nice. He pulled me up. My legs worked but felt borrowed, like walking on stilts made of fog. Outside, the October air hit my face. Dead leaves. Someone's wood stove. Cold enough my breath showed white. The hallway clock read 2, or 12. The numbers swapped positions each time I blinked. We walked. Marshall's hand on my arm, steady pressure. Street lamps made pools of yellow light. 3 blocks, maybe 4. My neighborhood looked different at night. Wrong angles. Houses I'd passed for 15 years became strangers. Where are we going? Just walking, Eugene. Getting some air. A car door closed somewhere. Marshall's hand left my arm. I stood on the sidewalk, bathrobe open, cold seeping through my slippers. Blue and red lights swept across houses I'd passed for 15 years, turning familiar sighting into crime scene. A cruiser door opened. Officer Rodriguez, according to his nameplate. Small red light on his body camera. "Sir, are you okay?" I looked at him. The words to answer were somewhere in my head but wouldn't surface. "What's your name, Eugene?" "Eugene what?" The rest wouldn't come. "Can you tell me your address?" I knew my address. 42 years at the same house. The information sat behind fog too thick to penetrate. "Sir, do you know what day it is?" "Tuesday," I tried to say. The word wouldn't form. "October," the date dissolved. My hands shook against the bathrobe. Textbook benzodiazepine trimmer. I'd photographed this exact presentation in 97 patients over 32 years. Never thought I'd see it from the inside. "Let's get you home," Rodriguez said. "Do you have ID?" He checked my bathrobe pocket. Found my driver's license. Looked at the address, then at me. "You're 3 blocks from home. Wow, did you get here?" I didn't answer, couldn't answer. Rodriguez opened the cruiser's back door. Bleach and stale coffee. The smell I'd delivered patients into for 3 decades. The cruiser's back seat smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. Rodriguez drove me home, helped me to the door, waited while I fumbled with keys I couldn't grip properly. Rodriguez's pen scratched across his notepad. "A PS will contact you within 72 hours. Standard protocol for at-risk elderly." The door closed. I stood in my own hallway, wedding ring catching lamplight, as my hands gripped the wall for balance. I didn't understand then what Marshall had done, but some part of me knew this wasn't natural decline. 3 days later, Tuesday afternoon, my dining room filled with family I didn't invite. Brandon arrived at 5 with Jennifer and Michael, my other 2 children. Vanessa, with folders organized on Dorothy's mahogany table, good china pushed aside to make room. "I've been documenting everything," Vanessa said. She opened the first folder. Manila, legal size, my name printed on the tab in her handwriting. Hoy phone, incident, log. Times, dates, symptoms observed. 8 weeks of notes starting in June. The second folder held witness statements. Jennifer's signature at the bottom of 3 typed pages describing Sunday dinners, dates, and times. My exact words when I couldn't remember Tyler's major. Michael mentioned the time, I forgot Tyler's name. Reverend Okonkwo's signature at the bottom of a form describing my forgetfulness. The third folder was the police report. Officer Rodriguez's account of finding me 3 blocks from home in a bathrobe, unable to state my address or the date, hands trembling, presenting as textbook dementia case. Adult Protective Services had visited yesterday. Linda Morrison with her clipboard and safety assessment forms. I'd still been partially sedated when she came. Her report sat in Vanessa's 4th folder, recommending intervention for at-risk elder living alone. "I know this is hard," Vanessa said. She touched Brandon's shoulder. 3 seconds. The same pressure she used on yoga clients, reassuring but professional. "But we have to think about Eugene's safety." She pulled out brochures. Shady Pines Premium Care. Glossy pages showing elderly residents smiling in garden courtyards. Corner room on second floor highlighted in yellow marker. Monthly rate in small print at the bottom. I placed the deposit 2 weeks ago when the confusion episodes became dangerous, Vanessa said. 5,000. The room is being held. We can tour next week. Brandon picked up the police report. The paper trembled. He set it down, picked it up again, couldn't seem to hold it steady. Dad, do you remember wandering that night? I looked at him. The fog was lighter today than it had been. But the memory wouldn't come. No. Jennifer leaned forward. I think Vanessa's right. Last. This is getting dangerous. What if he'd been hit by a car? Michael nodded. Mom would want him safe. We should schedule the facility tour. They discussed logistics. Work schedules. Who could help with the transition? Moving timeline. I sat at my own dining table, hands on the armrests. Dorothy's chair to my left, empty. Wedding ring reflecting window light. My hands still shook. Brandon looked at me. Dad, how long has she been planning this? Vanessa pulled out her phone. I filed the emergency petition yesterday. Cook County Probate Court. I'm requesting expedited hearing based on the APS concerns. Court date is set for mid-November, 6 weeks out. Brandon looked at me. Dad, I couldn't form the words. The petition requests co-trustee authority, Vanessa said, to protect Dorothy's legacy, to make sure the estate is managed properly during this difficult time. 6 months until the competency deadline. Vanessa had accelerated from documentation to emergency intervention. The family left at 4. Vanessa's folders remained stacked on Dorothy's table, evidence organized and ready for court. I touched the wedding ring, twisted it on my finger. The petition had been filed yesterday. Cook County Probate Court. Emergency guardianship based on documented pattern of decline, dangerous wandering incident, adult protective services concerns. 6 weeks to the hearing. Month 9 of the 12-month window. I sat alone at the table until the sun set. Vanessa's folders stacked in front of me, evidence organized and ready for court. My field report instinct kicked in. Time to document, but different this time. Official, medical, proof that would hold up against her manufactured evidence. I dumped the pills the morning before Linda Morrison's follow-up visit. The bathroom trash can filled with capsules. White and red, same colors as my prescribed heart medication, but the weight was wrong. Too light. I'd handled medication bottles for 32 years. These weren't right. The fog was thick that morning. My hands shook as I twisted the organizer compartments open, emptying each day's dose, Monday through Sunday. Morning and evening. 2 weeks of medication down the toilet. Paramedic training. Something pharmacological was wrong with my symptoms. I flushed twice and watched the water clear. 24 hours later, I woke at 6. The tremor in my hands had diminished. Not gone, but reduced from constant shake to occasional flutter. The fog was lighter. Still present, but thinner. Like looking through one curtain instead of 3. I filled the bird feeders with steady enough hands to pour seed without spilling. A house finch landed while I worked. Male. Red chest bright in morning sun. House finch. Male. Red chest bright in morning sun. I logged the species without hesitation. Benzodiazepine withdrawal. I'd treated it in 97 patients over 3 decades. Mild tremor. Anxiety. Sound sensitivity. The symptoms presenting in textbook sequence. I pulled my leather journal toward me and wrote in the same format I'd used since 1987. Day 1 post-abstinence, hand tremors diminished, mental fog lifting, speech clarity improving. Symptoms consistent with benzodiazepine withdrawal. Conclusion? External causation likely. 48 hours, the tremors stopped. I held my hand flat against the kitchen table. Steady, no visible shake. Same hand that couldn't grip a fork 4 days ago. I logged a scarlet tanager at 7:18. Time exact. Species identification certain. Weather conditions clear, 52 degrees. The handwriting didn't waver. 72 hours. Full clarity returned with force that felt physical. I sat at the kitchen table with my journal open, reviewing 3 months of entries. The pattern had been there all along. I just couldn't see it through the fog. Confusion episodes, Sunday evenings, 7 to 9 p.m. Wednesday evenings after Vanessa's midweek visits. Never on Tuesday afternoons during Reverend Okonkwo's pastoral visits. Never during morning birdwatching sessions. 2 to 3 hours after Vanessa organized my medications. Every time. I examined the pill organizer with paramedic eyes. The capsules Vanessa organized matched the size and color of my prescribed heart medication, but the texture felt smoother, the weight distribution different when I rolled one between my fingers. I picked up my phone and called Patricia Chen. "Eugene," she said. "How are you feeling?" "Clear. I stopped taking all medications 3 days ago." The fog lifted. "I think Vanessa's been drugging me." Silence for 3 seconds. "Tell me everything." I laid out the timeline. Symptoms starting 14 weeks ago. Correlation with Vanessa's visits. The pills that looked right but felt wrong. The withdrawal symptoms I recognized from 3 decades of emergency medicine. "I need toxicology screening," I said. "Independent lab. And cognitive testing while I'm still clear." "I'll arrange both today," Patricia said. "Eugene, Vanessa called me 4 times in the past 3 months. Asked about early estate access, trustee spending limits, international wire transfers. Before your competency was even questioned. This is elder exploitation." Her voice tightened. "I've seen this before. They contact the attorney before the death certificate is filed. They're not grieving. They're positioning." She scheduled 3 appointments. Toxicology lab at noon. Cognitive testing tomorrow morning at 9. Camera installation at 4 p.m. today. "Document everything until then," she said. "Every observation, every timeline correlation. Same format as your paramedic logs." I called Dr. Ortiz next. "I stopped all medications 3 days ago," I told her. Asked. The confusion cleared. "I'm experiencing benzodiazepine withdrawal symptoms." "You're not prescribed benzodiazepines." "Exactly." Her pen tapped the desk 3 times. "Come in at 2. I'm ordering comprehensive blood work. Benzodiazepine screening, metabolite analysis, the full panel." "And Eugene? I've been suspicious since Vanessa started speaking over you at appointments." The electronics store carried motion-activated cameras disguised as household items. I selected a kitchen clock, black frame, white face, lens hidden behind the number 12. The clerk explained the specifications. 1080p resolution, motion activation with 30-second buffer. Wi-Fi upload to cloud storage. 8-hour battery backup. Positioning is critical, he said. You want clear sight lines to whatever you're monitoring. Dr. Ortiz's office at 2 p.m., she closed the door and pulled out testing materials. After the appointment, I mounted the camera on the kitchen wall at 4 p.m. The lens angled to capture the counter where the pill organizer sat, the space where someone standing would work, and enough of the room to show context. I tested the angle with my phone as a stand-in for Vanessa's face. Clear view. No blind spots. Montreal cognitive assessment first, she said. Then mini mental state examination. I'm documenting baseline cognitive function. The MOCA took 12 minutes. Trail making, clock drawing. 3-word recall. Abstraction. Attention span. I scored 28 out of 30. Normal cognition for my age. The MMSE took 8 minutes. Orientation, registration, recall, language, construction, 29 out of 30. These scores are incompatible with dementia, Dr. Ortiz said. Incompatible with the confusion Vanessa's been describing. She handed me lab orders. Toxicology runs through an independent facility. Results in 48 to 72 hours. We're screening for everything. The blood draw took 5 minutes. 4 vials. Labels marked with codes I recognized from 3 decades of emergency medicine. 5 days later, the toxicology results arrived. I sat at Patricia's conference table while she reviewed the report. Legal-size pages, laboratory letterhead, chemical analysis detailed in sections. Lorazepam, Patricia read. Therapeutic level, 2 milligrams. Zolpidem, therapeutic level, 10 milligrams. Benzodiazepine metabolites indicating sustained exposure over the past 2 months. She set down the first page and picked up the second. Gas chromatography, mass spectrometry confirmation. These aren't trace amounts. These are consistent therapeutic doses administered daily. I looked at the prescription database printout she'd subpoenaed. Vanessa Mitchell, Lorazepam 2 mg 90-day supply, filled at CVS on June 3rd. Refilled at Walgreens on August 15th. Refilled at Osco on October 2nd. Vanessa Mitchell. Zolpidem 10 mg 90-day supply, filled at CVS on June 10th. Refilled at Walgreens on August 20th. 3 pharmacies, multiple prescriptions. Refill pattern showing she consumed the medication slower than prescribed. Diversion, Patricia said. Not personal use. She was stockpiling to dose you. The cognitive test scores sat beside the toxicology results. 28 out of 30. 29 out of 30. Numbers incompatible with the dementia diagnosis Vanessa had been manufacturing. Sunday at 5 p.m., Vanessa arrived with her designer handbag and pharmacy bag. I sat at the kitchen table. The camera recorded from its position on the wall, motion sensor already activated. Let me help you organize these, Vanessa said. She set the pill organizer on the counter. Her back was to me, but the camera captured her face in profile as she worked. 5:03 p.m., according to the timestamp. She opened Monday's morning compartment. Her manicured hand reached into the organizer and removed 2 capsules. White and red, my actual heart medication. She set them on the counter. Her other hand opened a prescription bottle. Lorazepam 2 mg, her name on the label. She selected 2 white tablets and placed them in Monday's compartment, closed it with a soft click. The process repeated for Monday evening, Tuesday morning, Tuesday evening, through the entire week. 7 days of medication, 14 substitutions. Her face visible in every frame, expression concentrated, movements methodical. She repositioned the organizer exactly where it had been and turned toward me with her practiced smile. All set for the week, Eugene. 8 days of footage. Same time every Sunday. Same systematic tampering. The camera captured every substitution, every pill bottle bearing her name, every deliberate repositioning. Patricia reviewed the Wi-Fi activity logs I'd pulled from my router. Marshall Webb's phone, connected during his visits to my house. Search history time-stamped and dated. June 22nd, 2 p.m. How long does Lorazepam stay in system? July 8th, 3:15 p.m. Undetectable sedatives for elderly. August 3rd, 1:45 p.m. Benzodiazepine detection in blood test. September 12, 4 p.m. How long before Lorazepam wears off? October 1st, 2:30 p.m. After 2:30 p.m., Zolpidem detection window blood test. Marshall knew about the drugging. These searches prove coordination. She compiled the documentation in chronological order across her conference table. Toxicology results showing 90 days of benzodiazepine exposure. Cognitive scores proving competence. 8 days of video footage showing systematic medication tampering. Prescription database proving Vanessa's access to both substances. Wi-Fi logs proving Marshall's knowledge. This is prosecution-quality evidence, Patricia said. I sat across from her, wedding ring catching fluorescent light. The leather journal sat open to my latest entry. Day 8, post-abstinence. Cognitive function fully restored, evidence collected, external causation confirmed, documentation complete. The same format I'd used for 32 years. Clinical. Precise. Emotion removed from observation. I'd spent 14 weeks being poisoned by someone I'd welcomed into my family. Someone I'd helped pay for a wedding. Someone who'd stood at Dorothy's funeral and touched my arm with practiced sympathy. But I documented the crime, not the betrayal. Patricia closed the evidence file. Linda Morrison's follow-up visit is tomorrow, she said. Show her this. Linda Morrison had come and gone the day before, satisfied with my cognitive scores. Now I had 1 week until Vanessa's guardianship hearing. I'd positioned the projector on Dorothy's mahogany table, laptop open beside it, positioned them at the head where she used to sit. Her empty chair finally claimed for something that mattered. 5 o'clock. Brandon arrived first with Jennifer and Michael, same siblings who'd witnessed my confusion at these Sunday dinners for 14 weeks. Their spouses followed, familiar faces settling into familiar chairs. Vanessa came last, designer handbag on one arm, medication organizer in the other hand. Her smile came before she cleared the doorway, timing perfected through months of practice. Eugene, you're looking well, she said. Let me just set these down. The pill organizer hit the table with a plastic click. She positioned it beside my plate, exact placement she'd used every Sunday. I stood, 7 faces turned toward me. Before dinner, I need to show you something. Patricia entered from the kitchen where she'd been waiting. Dr. Ortiz followed. Both carried leather portfolios. Vanessa's smile held, but her eyes shifted. What's going on? I opened the laptop. The projector hummed. A family meeting, I said. Same witnesses who've been here every Sunday. Same table where you documented my confusion. I thought it was appropriate. The kitchen footage filled the wall where Dorothy's memorial photos usually hung. Time stamp in the corner, 17,003. Camera angle showing the counter, the pill organizer, and Vanessa's face in clear profile. I pressed play. The room went silent except for the projector's hum and the soft click of compartments closing on screen. The video showed her opening Monday's compartment. At 17,004, her manicured hand reached inside and removed 2 capsules. White and red, my prescribed heart medication. She set them on the counter with careful precision. At 17,005, her other hand opened a prescription bottle. The label faced the camera. Vanessa Mitchell, Lorazepam 2 mg. At 17,006, she selected 2 white tablets and placed them in Monday's compartment. The click of it closing carried through the speakers. Complete silence filled the room, except for the video audio, soft sounds of capsules against plastic. The footage continued. Monday evening, Tuesday morning, Tuesday evening. 7 days of methodical substitution, her face visible in every frame, no hesitation in her movements. Vanessa's face went white. I watched it happen in real time, same physiological response I'd seen in 1,000 patients receiving bad news. The video ended at 17,009. 6 minutes of systematic tampering, edited from 8 Sunday visits. Brandon's voice cracked. What is those pills have? I handed him the toxicology report. Legal-size pages, laboratory letterhead. Lorazepam and zolpidem, I said. Therapeutic levels. Benzodiazepine metabolites indicating 90-day exposure. Neither substance prescribed to me. The toxicology report trembled in his grip. He set it down, picked it up again, couldn't seem to hold it steady. Patricia stood and distributed folders to each family member. The sound of pages turning filled Dorothy's dining room. Cognitive test scores, Patricia said. Montreal Cognitive Assessment, 28 out of 30. Mini Mental State Examination, 29 out of 30. Both scores indicate normal cognition for Eugene's age. Incompatible with dementia. She pulled out the next document. Dr. Ortiz's affidavit establishing Eugene's cognitive baseline over 18 years of medical care. No history of confusion, memory problems, or impaired judgment until 3 months ago. Dr. Ortiz placed a second stack of papers on the table. Illinois Prescription Monitoring Program Database. Vanessa filled Lorazepam prescriptions at 3 pharmacies. CVS on June 3rd. Walgreens on August 15th. Osco on October 2nd. Refill pattern showing consumption slower than prescribed, consistent with diversion rather than personal use. I opened my laptop again. Wi-Fi activity logs filled the screen. Marshall Webb's phone connected to my home network during his visits. Search history. I read from the timestamps. June 22nd. How long does Lorazepam stay in system? July 8th. Undetectable sedatives for elderly. August 3rd. Benzodiazepine detection in blood test. Jennifer covered her mouth. Michael set down his folder with pages still unread. Patricia pulled up browser screenshots on the projector. Pinterest boards titled Future Hampton's House, 247 pins. Luxury real estate listings with prices attached. Yacht interiors. Private island destinations. Board creation date, Patricia said. 2 weeks after Dorothy's funeral. Months before Eugene showed any confusion, the Excel spreadsheet appeared next. Estate allocation in bold at the top. Line items detailed. $1.2 million for Hampton's property. $800,000 for yacht. $200,000 listed as Marshall consulting fee. After examining the lab results, Brandon's voice cracked. The pills in the video have your name, and Dad, you tested positive for, oh God, what has she been doing? Vanessa's voice went higher, tight. Corporate speak replacing sweetness. This is taken out of context. I was trying to help manage his medications. Elder confusion is a documented symptom of grief. I never meant. The video shows you removing my prescribed medication, I said. Replacing it with sedatives from bottles bearing your name. 8 Sundays, same pattern every time. It was a mix-up. My anxiety medication looked similar to. Patricia opened her portfolio. You contacted the estate department 4 times between May and August, starting 3 weeks after Dorothy's death. Asked about early access to Dorothy's trust. Inquired about trustee spending limits. Before Eugene showed any cognitive decline. I was just trying to understand. The toxicology shows 90-day exposure, Dr. Ortiz said. Metabolite markers don't lie. Eugene was ingesting therapeutic doses of benzodiazepines daily. You had access. You had the medication. You had motive documented in spending spreadsheets planning $3.8 million in purchases. Vanessa's hands gripped the chair armrests. Knuckles white, the diamond ring catching light as her fingers dug into leather. You can't prove I gave him anything. Those pills could have been mixed up. I was helping him organize. The camera proves it, I said. 8 videos showing systematic tampering. Your face clearly visible. No confusion in your movements. You knew exactly what you were doing. Brandon stood, The chair scraped hardwood, same sound Dorothy's chair used to make. He looked at the toxicology report in his shaking hands, then at Vanessa, then at the frozen video frame showing her replacing my medication with sedatives. "I watched you do this," he said. "I sat here every Sunday and watched Dad get confused. I thought he was sick. I thought he needed help. And you were—" His voice broke. Vanessa reached for his hand. He pulled away. "Brandon, please. You have to understand, I never wanted—" "What?" His voice rose. "You never wanted to drug my father? You never wanted to steal his inheritance? The spreadsheet has your brother getting $200,000. And that was just planning. I wasn't actually going to." "The guardianship petition was filed," Patricia said. "Emergency hearings scheduled for next week. You placed a $5,000 deposit at Shady Pines. Selected his room. The facility tour was scheduled for 3 days from now." I met Vanessa's eyes across Dorothy's table. "I documented everything," I said. "Times, dates, witnesses. 32 years of field logs taught me that evidence matters more than accusations. You thought I was confused. I was collecting proof." My hands were steady on the laptop. Wedding ring caught lamplight, same as it had for 42 years. "The competency deadline is 3 months away," I said. "You needed me declared incompetent before then. So you manufactured the symptoms, timed the drugging for maximum witness presence, built a file proving decline that never existed." Vanessa's voice shifted to defensive corporate speak. "My attorney will show this is elder paranoia. Grief-induced suspicion. You've misinterpreted. Your attorney will see the video footage," Patricia said. "The toxicology results. The prescription database. The spending spreadsheet. And withdraw from representation to avoid disciplinary action." Brandon picked up the Pinterest screenshots. "Future Hampton's house." The paper slipped from his fingers, drifted to the floor. He didn't pick it up. "You were spending Mom's money before Dad was even gone," he said. "Planning it, budgeting it, 2 weeks after her funeral." Vanessa stood. "I need to leave." "Sit down," Patricia said. "We're not finished. I don't have to listen to. The police report will be filed tomorrow morning," Patricia said. "Cook County Prosecutor's Office. Elder abuse through systematic drugging. The evidence is prosecution quality. You can sit here and hear what's coming, or you can leave and hear it from your attorney." Vanessa sat. The dining room was silent except for the projector's hum. Dorothy's teacups reflected lamplight from the glass cabinet. The pot roast I'd made using her recipe sat cooling in the kitchen, meal prepared but never eaten. I closed the laptop. 32 years of paramedic work, I said. I know what benzodiazepine poisoning looks like. I know withdrawal symptoms. I know documentation standards that hold up in court. You thought my grief made me weak. It made me careful. Patricia called the prosecutor Tuesday morning at 9. I sat across from her desk while she explained the evidence. Camera footage. Toxicology results. Prescription database. Why? Spending spreadsheet. Class 2 felony elder abuse through drugging, she said into the phone. Camera footage. Toxicology panel. Prescription database. They'll file by end of day. She hung up and looked at me. They'll file charges today. Arrest warrant by tomorrow. I nodded. Same systematic approach as any paramedic handoff. Evidence documented, case transferred, professionals handling next steps. Patricia drafted the bar complaint that afternoon. Vanessa's guardianship attorney had filed a petition based on manufactured evidence. The complaint cited ethical violations, potential fraud conspiracy. He'll withdraw representation within 48 hours, Patricia said. Here, self-preservation. Tuesday afternoon, Dr. Ortiz called at 3. I reported the poisoning to the medical board and Chicago PD Elder Abuse Unit. Provided full documentation. Her voice carried the edge I recognized from ER rotations when she'd caught someone falsifying records. Righteous anger channeled into systematic reporting. She weaponized pharmaceutical knowledge, Dr. Ortiz said. That ends careers. Vanessa was arrested at the yoga studio where she worked Wednesday afternoon. Brandon called me at 4. They took her out in handcuffs, he said, in front of her clients. His voice was flat, shock maybe, or the first stage of processing what his wife had done. Bail set at $50,000, he said. She called asking me to post it. What did you tell her? Nothing. I hung up. A subpoena arrived for Marshall Webb Thursday morning. The prosecutor had named him as co-conspirator based on Wi-Fi logs. The staged wandering incident, $5,000 transferred from Vanessa's account labeled consulting fee. Marshall's neighbors reported seeing him load his car at 6 a.m. 2 suitcases, no forwarding address. He left furniture, unpaid rent, $47,000 across credit cards and personal loans. Fugitive warrant issued by noon. Brandon showed up at my door Wednesday evening the following week, carrying 2 suitcases and a manila envelope. Divorce petition, he said. Fraud, emotional cruelty, systematic deception spanning 18 months. I helped him carry the suitcases to the guest room, his childhood bedroom. Baseball trophies on the shelf. High school photos on the wall. I brought some of her things, he said. The Pinterest boards. Printed them out before her lawyer could claim they'd been deleted. We went to the backyard. I'd built a fire pit years ago, Dorothy's idea for cool evenings. Brandon stacked the screenshots in the center. Future Hampton's house. Yacht interiors. Private island destinations. He lit the corner of the first page. The paper curled, blackened, disappeared. I grabbed 2 beers from the fridge. Dorothy's favorite brand, twist caps because her nurse hands got tired after long shifts. Brandon twisted the cap off and drank. We watched the last Pinterest board catch flame. Beachfront property, $1.2 million. The paper curled, blackened, disappeared. 18 months, he said. She was planning this before Mom even died. The spreadsheet proves it. Estate allocation. He said the words like a diagnosis. She had my inheritance itemized, Marshall's cut calculated, down to the dollar. We finished the beers. The fire burned down to embers. Bird feeders hung in silhouette against the darkening sky. Thursday morning, Patricia called. Guardianship petition withdrawn with prejudice, she said. Her attorney saw the video footage and dropped her. Filed withdrawal citing newly discovered evidence of fraud. What does with prejudice mean? Permanent bar to refiling. And the probate court entered a fraud flag in her record. She can't serve as fiduciary in Illinois again. Adult Protective Services called that afternoon. Linda Morrison's voice carried professional embarrassment. We're reversing our initial finding based on new evidence. The amended report documents exploitation attempt, not cognitive decline. Understood. Mr. Mitchell, I apologize. We should have investigated more thoroughly. I hung up and looked at the calendar. Month 12. Exactly 1 year since Dorothy's death. The competency deadline had passed. Estate control transferred per the will's provisions. No restrictions, no co-trustee, just me. By Friday afternoon, Vanessa's LinkedIn showed 0 connections. The pharmaceutical sales network she'd built over 6 years, gone. Her profile visits dropped to 0. Her professional references deleted their recommendations without explanation. I checked her Facebook page Thursday evening. The hospital photos from Dorothy's illness, Vanessa holding my hand, Caption, supporting family through hard times, had 83 comments. Everyone calling her a fraud. She deleted her accounts by Saturday. First National Trust called Monday. Mr. Mitchell, we've flagged Vanessa Mitchell's name in our fraud database. Permanent record. She's blocked from any access to your estate or future inheritance claims. Patricia had coordinated that too, creating barriers that would last beyond the criminal case. Tuesday, I sat at Patricia's conference table reviewing trial preparation documents. The prosecutor planned to present the Pinterest boards as premeditation evidence. The Excel spreadsheet titled Estate Allocation would be displayed showing she'd planned spending the inheritance before manufacturing the incompetence that would justify access. She faces 3 to 7 years, Patricia said, plus mandatory restitution for any estate funds she diverted or costs you incurred defending against the guardianship petition. I pulled out my leather journal that evening. Same format I'd used since 1987. Clinical. Precise. Day 72 post-discovery. Criminal charges filed. Marriage dissolved. Estate secured. Estate secured. Vanessa Mitchell arrested on Class 2 felony elder abuse. Marshall Webb fled jurisdiction. Fugitive warrant issued. Brandon filed divorce petition citing fraud and emotional cruelty. Guardianship petition withdrawn with prejudice. Probate court fraud flag entered. Pharmaceutical career destroyed. Professional network severed. Social media accounts deleted following community condemnation. First National Trust fraud database flag ensures permanent estate access block. Month 12 competency deadline passed. Sole estate control transferred per Dorothy's will. Yellow-rumped warbler at feeders, 6:42 a.m., justice systematic. I closed the journal and looked at Dorothy's chair. The cardigan was still draped over the back. Brandon had asked if he should put it away. I told him no. She'd built something worth protecting. The systematic consequences destroying Vanessa proved the institutions could work when presented with proper evidence. 32 years of documentation had taught me that. I woke at 6. The house was quiet except for the percolator in the kitchen, Brandon already up. I pulled on jeans and a flannel shirt. 457 days since Dorothy died. 15 months. Brandon stood at the counter measuring coffee grounds into her vintage percolator. 3 scoops for a full pot, water to the 10-cup line. The way she'd taught both of us. Morning, Dad, morning. I filled the bird feeders while the coffee brewed. Black oil sunflower for cardinals, Niger for finches, suet cakes for woodpeckers. A yellow-rumped warbler landed on the platform feeder while I worked. Male. The yellow patches caught morning light as it fed. I went inside for my journal. 7:42 a.m. Clear skies. 54 degrees. Yellow-rumped warbler, first sustained visit this season. Dorothy used to watch this species from this window while I worked night shifts. My handwriting looked the same as it did in 1987 when I started keeping paramedic shift logs. Brandon poured coffee into 2 mugs. We sat at the kitchen table, comfortable silence replacing months of tension. We'd made it a tradition now. Hunting estate sales for vintage medical equipment. You still want to go? He asked. Yeah. The percolator's rhythmic burble filled the kitchen. Brandon's footsteps creaked overhead. Morning sounds replacing months of silence. We drove to a house clearance in Oak Park. October air carried the smell of dead leaves and wood smoke. The estate sale occupied a Tudor-style home with peeling paint and a sagging front porch. Tables covered the front lawn. Household goods spread across folding tables. Boxes of books stacked 3 deep. Brandon examined a 1960s nursing textbook, pages yellowed but text clear. The spine cracked when he opened it. Florence Nightingale's Principles of Modern Nursing printed in block letters across the cover. Mom had this exact one, he said. In her training, the cellar, an elderly woman in a cardigan, watched from the porch. My sister was a nurse. Worked 40 years at Northwestern. Brandon turned the book over in his hands. His fingers traced the embossed title. $8, the woman said. Brandon paid cash, tucked the textbook under his arm like it was worth more than the price suggested. Tuesday afternoon, Reverend Okonkwo knocked at 2, leather-bound Bible under his arm. We sat in the living room, bird feeders visible through the window. Chickadees worked the sunflower seeds. The scholarship fund is established, I said. Dorothy Mitchell Memorial Scholarship. First check goes to a nursing student at the community college next month. $2,500 covering books and tuition. Dorothy would be proud. I pulled the application folder from the side table. Brandon and I reviewed 8 applications. We selected a single mother returning to school, 2 kids, working night shift at a gas station to pay bills. Reverend Okonkwo leaned forward. What made her application stand out? Her essay mentioned wanting to work emergency medicine. Said she'd seen a paramedic save her son's life after a car accident. Reminded her that medical professionals make a difference when it matters most. That's Dorothy's legacy speaking. She built something worth protecting. This feels right. That evening, Dr. Ortiz came for dinner. Monthly tradition now, replacing Sunday family gatherings. She wore her ballroom competition medal around her neck, recent regional win in the over 50 category. I set 3 places at the dining room table. Pot roast, Dorothy's recipe, served on her good china. Second place, Dr. Ortiz said, lifting the medal. But the judge said my footwork was flawless. Dorothy always said you were stubborn enough to master anything. I learned from the best. She cut into the pot roast. How's the bird watching? Yellow-rumped warbler this morning. 7:42. First sustained visit this season. Same time you logged it in 2004? Dorothy kept better records than I did. Her field notes showed 738 that year. Dr. Ortiz smiled. Precision runs in the family. After she left, I returned to the bird feeders. Chickadees and house sparrows, juncos and a lake cardinal. Different birds, different light. I logged each species with timestamps and weather conditions. The cardinal pair arrived at dusk, consistent daily visitors for 3 years running. Inside, I pulled my journal toward me and wrote in the format I'd used since 1987. Day 457 post-loss, yellow-rumped warbler logged at 0742, matching Dorothy's field notes from 2004. Scholarship established, first recipient selected. Dr. Ortiz monthly dinner maintained. Brandon estate sale tradition continued. Pattern holds. I closed the journal and looked at my left hand. The wedding ring caught lamplight. Outside the kitchen window, bird feeders hung against darkening sky. Leather journals stacked beside my laptop. 32 years of paramedic logs, recent symptom documentation, evidence collection notes. Tools of systematic truth-telling that had defeated systematic deception. Dorothy's teacup sat in the glass cabinet with the others. Her memory honored through scholarship, not shrine. Her legacy protected through the methodical precision I'd applied to 3 decades of paramedic work. Documentation defeated deception.